So I wanted to talk about why I went with this particular axle. This axle is the Dana 44 from a 2000 to 2001 Dodge Ram, usually in the half tons, but sometimes in the 3/4 tons. And the first reason was because you could do this solid axle swap without losing your 6 lug and without losing your anti-lock brake system. It actually allows for the factory GMT 800 Chevy hubs to bolt in to the knuckles on the Dana 44 and be utilized. So that allows you to use factory wheels and allows you to not have to change your rear diff, not have to change your wheels, your bolt patterns, allows you to keep your anti-lock brake function. So that was a big selling point. Also, the Dana 44 is a much more compact package. So on the top and bottom sides of the Dana 44, you can get more clearance on the underside for hanging up on the trail and more clearance on the top side for upward travel and tucking up against the frame and the engine. So those two things combined just make it the perfect axle. As I got further into it, I found that with the Dodge coil buckets on the frame, it makes the coil springs the correct width as well on the Chevy frame. If you use some frame plates, it makes them within a 1/16 of an inch perfect. So then it's a no-brainer to run this axle. It's so perfect, and it's already set up for control arms, already ready to go. And with the shock absorber going up through the center of the coil spring, it makes for a really small area that it takes up with the spring and the shock, so you can have a lot of clearance for tire turning and things like that. It was just the perfect choice for a solid axle swap, especially if you don't want to run big 40-inch plus tires on it. And I've had a lot of good luck with it over the past year since I completed it. So there it is, all unwrapped. The expansion plug we put in there to keep the sand out of the axle tube. This bracket was bent down over that and didn't get fully sandblasted, but Pour 15 will stick to that just fine. See, I left the ball joints in so that it'll protect the surfaces where the ball joints go in. We'll get new ball joints. You may notice that I keep my Pour 15 in an aftermarket plastic bucket. That's because when you buy it, especially in the gallon jugs, it comes in a steel can, and Pour 15 sticks to steel, and it glues the lid shut pretty easily, but it won't stick to plastic at all. So this is a really great way to store it if you want to reuse it multiple times. Got all the 415 black stuff out here getting checked and then letting it dry. Looks pretty good. All the parts that got coated in 415 yesterday are all sitting out here all dry now. I think they look pretty good. Close enough for what I need to do. What's shown here is the Dodge outer stub shaft, which is the exact same spline as the Chevy CV axle, so it works perfectly with the Chevy hub assembly and uses the Dodge spindle nut. Another big important point is that the 2000 and 2001 Dana 44 from the Ram, it allows you to use the correct diameter rotor from the Chevy, the factory Chevy. So all you have to use is a couple of 575 thousandths thick spacers on the brake caliper bolts, and that puts the rotor lined up down the center of the caliper, and it's the correct diameter. Now, this axle did come from 1994 to 2001, but prior to 2000 it used the wrong size of rotor, and the caliper is mounted a different way, so you can't easily space it out. And so what I actually did, it's not technically a 2000 or 2001 housing, this is a 1994 housing, but I'm running the knuckles and ball joints from a 2000, and that allows me to have the correct brakes and use the Dodge calipers with a couple of spacers with the factory hub and the factory Chevy hub and the factory Chevy brake rotor. That is why I ended up going that route. I didn't know that when I first got this axle housing, and I only learned that after I got into the project, that I needed a 2000 to 2001. But no harm, no foul. All I had to do was get knuckles from a 2000 to 2001, and it's worked out great. We're missing little metal pieces that go right here, but I think 16s would fit on this.